Welcome to the latest episode of Silicon and Spice, where tech leaders share unique flavors. Today we have Christina Morgan here. Do you want to say hi?
Hello.
Christina currently is the PM director at Adobe, and she has also been advisor and growth mentors for a lot of different startups. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a beautiful day.
Yes, definitely. So my first question is usually about what's your path into product management. So I started as an engineering major, and then I was a consultant, and then I landed a job as like a PM. But you're the first person that coming from a PR background from college, and then you also had really intense experiences in startup world. So how did you find kind of your path into?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's different for everyone, for certain. So I'm a builder at heart. I
Mhm.
really enjoy building. I find a lot of passion and purpose waking up every day, to make something. And so I have just followed that throughout my career and through my learning. If I wake up energized, I know I'm doing the right thing. And so in college, that started for me in public relations. I worked in travel and fashion PR firms. That was really energizing at the time. I also came out of school around the same time that social media was on the rise.
Mhm.
Facebook was in 2010 just became available for users with their university ID.
Right. Oh, those. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And so it was like right around that time. And was actually one of the very first advertisers on Facebook with a social media marketing agency. Some folks from my school pulled together at the time, and that ended up being acquired. And I wanted to evolve from Florida, where I was going to school and where I grew up, into a bigger market. So I came to San Francisco. I did sales for a couple of years.
Oh,
I
wow.
really was not into that, but I'm so glad that I did because I learned lots of great things
Right.
that I still use today. You need those skills in any role that you're going to be in. That led me to taking an entrepreneurial route and being a content creator in the travel industry using my background from travel PR. And then that's what led me into my first startup. And so I joined a company called Grabber as a go-to-market consultant for the US launch based on my marketing background. But that is where I really transitioned from marketing to product.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I was helping stand up the international marketing teams
Right.
and taking everything live at the 0 to 1 launch. And it was the first time that I had seen that up close. Like, oh, if I'm not fantastic at activating, engaging, retaining, and getting these users to tell all of their friends about the product,
Yeah.
then all of the marketing that I just did was totally in vain and doesn't matter at all, right?
The life cycle part.
The whole life cycle part
Yeah.
and getting users to come back in. And that was also around the same time that Reforge was first coming up. They were doing their in-person cohorts. It was like downtown San Francisco, just over here in a nightclub lounge with Brian Balfour and Andrew Chen. And so I got to learn growth, product growth. I learned product through that lens alongside folks from Facebook and YouTube and Instagram in that environment and immediately apply it to the startup that I was building at the time, Grabber, with an amazing team. And so it was a great feedback loop. But that was the transition, was like marketing, public relations, sales, content to product. And then after Grabber, I went on to advise and mentor a couple of other startups, Alpha and Koa as well.
Okay. That's actually a perfect combination of skills to be a growth PM leader.
Yeah.
Because you really touch upon all different, as I said, like life cycles of things. You do sales, so you know, okay, what user really want to see. And then you do marketing, so that's go-to-market expansion, which is definitely complementary to like the growth and the growth part. Wow, this is really cool.
And then you have to deliver it.
Deliver it right
from where your mouth is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to, like, once you know all these, basically you're kind of like, you have to understand like how the whole thing can come along together to make like the product really work and rock it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
Next question is, what does the typical day look like for you? Because I'm always curious. You're a PM director, so you have a team. I think your product is like Lightroom and stuff, right? Then how do you balance if you had a typical day? Every day could be different. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Every day is definitely different. So I have an amazing team. I have a team of direct reports. My current team is focused, and so my team covers product-led growth across the Lightroom ecosystem, so mobile, desktop, and web. We have a disproportionate focus on mobile in the moment, and we're focused currently on activation, build habit, repeat use, engagement, and virality, getting new users to come into the product through share and similar motions. In previous seasons at Adobe, my teams have also covered App Store optimization, monetization, and our MMP partnership. But those are the areas that we're focused on now. So day-to-day is deep partnership and collaboration with our data science partners, going into the data, harvesting opportunities, uncovering where should we be focused in order to deliver the most impact to the business. Then partnering, of course, with design, core product, QE, engineering to bring those experiences to life, and really driving as fast and rapid and effective of an experimentation pipeline as we can to continuously learn. There are a number of different KPIs that we're going after, depending on the lever, depending on the moment, depending on what's ripe in the growth model and in the strategy. The theme that I keep my team focused on is learning velocity. How quick are we shipping? How quick are we learning? If we ship an experiment and it wasn't a winner, that's okay, as long as we derived insight.
Yeah.
If we ship an experiment and there was no insight derived, we didn't have a good experiment design. And so how do we iterate on that so that we get healthy insight next time? But we constantly want to be learning and evolving so that we're improving the user experience for the customers.
Talk about learning velocity. It's almost like the synchrony for growth mindset, because when you are in growth, you have to constantly understand what do what do the patterns look like, right? And then you say your team does a lot of experimentation, making sure always have to learn something, like whether it succeeded or not, but you always have to learn something, so it will help the momentum to keep going.
Yeah, and I think it can be really easy for teams to get into the trap of just focusing on the data KPIs that come out of an experiment, moved KPI by X%.
Right, okay.
But it's that next level of insight. Like, what does that mean about user behavior? What is that connected to? And uncovering those help you see the more macro themes in user behavior in the product and further optimize the experiences.
Right. So it's not just like, oh, we have like 10% of certain conversion, but it's more like, what does that mean for our users or for our product? And then you keep like honing that kind of power to go deeper.
Exactly. So 10% improvement in conversion for this cohort. Why? What were the elements of the experience, of the messaging, of the targeting, of the behavior? Like, what's the why behind it? And then continuing to refine within that.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Do you feel like you spend more time doing the management part of the work, or you also kind of touch upon on the IC parts of things?
In my role currently, it's definitely more of the organizational alignment.
Okay. The culture stuff.
And making things move. Adobe is a very large company. And that's been a big learning curve for me, coming from startups. Like, again, I'm a builder, I'm a tinkerer. I like to have my hands on things, know, I like to be in it. But in an organization as large and cross-functional and matrix as Adobe, you can't just do anything at all as an individual. You have to get the organization on board with the framework behind how we look at things and the way of thinking and the approach and the mentality and the iteration, and align it within the broader organizational goals. And so it's a very different way of moving and delivering and shipping. And so my role in this moment is a lot of orchestration of a wonderful team.
That's awesome because you shape your team's culture, which also kind of helped with the overall like the product growth, which is a good segue to my next question is, what advice do you have for aspiring PMs who want to choose growth as their specialty or their niche? Because I consider I'm an e-commerce fintech product manager, and there are people who are SaaS or security or cloud or like AI, right? And then I consider growth is a separate. I mean, maybe some overlap, but growth has its own niche. But what advice do you have for people who want to like, I want to be the growth PM,
Yeah. First, acknowledging that there are so many different specialties and types of product management, right? Innovation PM, growth PM, like you were saying, e-commerce, there's lots of different ways to go. And of course, there are generalist PM roles as well. Company size, maturity state will inform a lot of how much of your work is specialized versus broad. But for a growth PM in particular, know your data, know your qualitative data, your quantitative data, your customer, your market, your backlog of experimentation insight that's informed where you got to today. It's really just having a handle on all of that. And of course, with AI is completely fundamentally changing the way that we PMs build and the way that everybody builds products, ships, takes information to takes things to market, but it's still only as good as the context that you feed it. So having the intelligence to pull in the right pieces of data to feed into the AI and then let it ingest and give you feedback back and improve your, experimentation iteration cycle, but really know your data. And also be very, very comfortable speaking the language of the business. I think something that I observe is that a lot of PMs of different functions can have a kind of like an allergic reaction to finance.
Okay, that's a good point. That is true.
To me, revenue and virality are the ultimate expressions of customer love. If a customer loves your product, they're going to be happy to pay you for it, and they're going to tell their friends about it. And if that's not happening in a very healthy way, there are lots of fundamental reasons why that are rooted in customer empathy and understanding and market position and lots of other variables. But those are our output metrics that are indicative of customer love. So be
Yeah.
comfortable speaking in that language to your finance partners, because that is the role of growth, is to translate customer empathy into revenue and MAU and the business goals.
Oh, I love that. I think the last point is so valuable, right? I mean, I myself, I don't come from a finance background. So like talking about the revenues or like the margins, it did scare me initially.
Yeah.
But when you get into the business, you actually, oh, okay, I want to be closer to the monetization side. I want to understand, how does like one thing translate to, five other things? Like how does them, especially e-commerce, where we're so margin sensitive
Yeah.
to all kind of different external factors. So I love that you talked about like don't be afraid to understand the core business needs. Yeah.
Yep.
That made sense. That made sense. Yeah. The next question is, in addition to being a PM leader, you and I have something in common. We are both creators, and you have always been kind of a travel creator. So how does that experience kind of help you as the PM leader?
So I couldn't have imagined the ways, certainly, but I actually reflected on this kind of recently. In the season where I was a travel content creator for a couple of years at a different time than Instagram was what it is today. Very different, it evolved. But in that season, which was wonderful, so I solo traveled 20-something countries. It was like the solo female travel blogger.
Oh, okay,
moment.
yeah.
And I just got really comfortable. And that was my means of travel, right? Like, I was in my 20s. I didn't travel abroad for the first time until I was 25, but I knew marketing and I knew PR and I had my angle. And so I was like, okay, like this is going to be my, my attempt at this. And the thing in hindsight that I learned that I could have never anticipated at that time is the just dropping myself into ambiguous environment over ambiguous environment over ambiguous environment, and then building in public, like observing a city, documenting it through photography and video and notes, developing a story, putting that out into the world, building in public. And
building in public,
the building in public.
Definitely.
And getting the immediate feedback loop based on the engagement is the same thing as growth experimentation every day.
That is true.
Yeah. Like building in an ambiguous environment, going into a wild data set with no themes and finding little narratives and finding opportunities of hypothesis, putting it out into the world, getting a feedback loop, and then iterating again. Now it seems so connected, but I certainly wasn't thinking about that then.
And I feel like all the pieces of the puzzle really come together for you as the growth leader here. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is true. I didn't know that your Andrew was solo female traveler.
Yeah.
I feel like that takes a lot of bravery. You had to do like so much planning, as you said. There's ambiguous situation. I don't want to say dangerous, but I could imagine, foreign countries not easy to just be there. But that's really cool. Are there anything you can share more? Are there any crazy stories?
I mean, yeah, there were a lot of crazy stories. I think one illustrative example is a friend of mine lived in Japan. She was working for a advertising agency there at the time. And I had called her and I was like, I'm doing this travel blog. Can I come stay with you? I want to write about Japan.
Yeah.
And so I went and I stayed with her for a month. So I show up on my first day in Tokyo and she goes to work and I get my map of the city and I go to the Daikanyama book compound, which is beautiful. The architecture is lovely. And I just put out the map and then I get my pen and I look at the map and I'm looking online for what content already exists for American travel bloggers in Tokyo about what people have written about.
Okay.
And I circle on the map, the places that I want to go, and then the places that I haven't seen any content about that I want to find out about. And then I go to my friend at night and I was like, what do you know about these neighborhoods? And she's giving me kind of local feedback.
Yeah, that's a feedback.
So I'm already getting feedback.
Right.
And then I went out over the next month into each different neighborhood and was documenting and putting it online. And I just love my 25-year-old self for that. Think about it in hindsight, right? Because I really appreciate the gumption of that version of me.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Japan is such a lovely country. We went there last May as a family. Definitely want to go back in a few years.
Me too.
It's beautiful. And I love that I see a few themes. Number one is that you have accumulated successful stories from American travel bloggers, but you also have your own niche, right? You also want to discover the hidden gems where nobody talked about it before. So you also have another layer of discoveries that the audience would find valuable. And then you got your friends' feedback, instant feedback, and then you just execute. Yeah. That's really cool. Wow. And I think being a content creator, to put yourself out there, also takes courage, right? Because the internet is a wild place. People could say all kinds of things. And sometimes, the engagement is a game, almost like a game, right? Okay, you want to hit a certain number, but you also don't want to be led only by the numbers game. So I find that you have to have your passion, as you said. That also is a good set of skills to acquire, like being in the product world. That's really cool. Nice. Thanks for sharing. That's a really good story.
Thank you. I did in that same, you said crazy things that happened. So in that same Japan trip, we went on a hike to the top of this volcanic mountain called Hakone, and we missed the last bus on the way back.
Oh.
And so it was dark, and we had to like walk down the dark. We ended up finding our way to a hotel. Who knows how long? Felt like hours, was probably 5 minutes, right? In my memory, it was hours and hours of time. We were able to then get a taxi back into the city, but it was quite a while. And so we were like left at the top of a mountain for a while, and that was very scary at the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah. But I'm glad you made it out safe. Yeah. So that's the example of like, it could be some experiment that went wrong.
Yes.
And then you have to really like pivot, like,
Yes.
what's my strategy here? What to do next? But okay, that's really cool. Now we get into kind of the bonus question part. Since I work in like fashion e-commerce industry, I always ask my audience, ask my guests, what is your favorite clothing brand? Like, I got this from Costco, actually, this jacket from Costco. And a lot of my clothes are from Stitch Fits. So I'm curious, as a PM leader, you're also a travel blogger, so I feel like your standard will be higher. You know?
Once upon a time.
Still, what is your like go-to? I mean, it could be different locations. What is your go-to favorite clothing brand?
Favorite clothing brands. Oh, I grew up in South Florida. I do love luxury. However, I also really love sustainability and the thrill of the hunt. I am very aware of all of the negative implications of fast fashion on the planet, and I'm trying to do my little part in that. So I most frequently am shopping on the RealReal.
Okay.
I love to, go into boutiques every now and again, especially when I travel to a new city. I like to go into a physical boutique and like find things that will remind me of that.
Hidden gems.
Hidden gems.
That's true. That's true.
But I love a consignment shop. I love the thrill of a hunt. I love curators like ThreadUp, Stitch Fix, places that you can get a lot of optionality in one spot.
Yeah. The RealReal, it's a good problem they're solving, and I feel like they touched upon. It could be a case study. They have like authentication. They really solve kind of dynamic needs on both sides. So
Sure.
I always find these like marketplace products pretty fascinating. Really. The last question is a little spicy. The traditions. I mean, it's about AI. We talk about AI all the time. Kind of AI really generating at lightning speed. Like every day, there's something different, a new model, there's a new product. So how does Adobe compete in this crazy world, right? Because I imagine in the past, let's say we use Photoshop a lot. Like, oh, let me Photoshop, like remove the background. Now it's at one prompt in Gemini or OpenAI, they will just remove it. And I would imagine you don't want to have too much cannibalization in your own product either, right? So I'm curious, like, as a PM leader at Adobe, like what's on top of your mind handling this AI stuff every day?
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time to be building. It's certainly a fast market, the fastest market that we've seen. I don't know, what was the last big boom, like mobile.com?
That's true.
And it's accelerating much faster than either of those. So it's a really neat time to be at the helm. I think for Adobe, Adobe's shipping a ton of innovation in the creative space. We just had our annual conference, Max. There we announced partnerships with Google DeepMind. So all Google models are actually available in Adobe products for creators. And also with YouTube Shorts, you can now publish directly from Premiere Video to YouTube Shorts, which is really neat.
That's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one. Okay.
Which is a big one.
Yeah.
But, the approach for Adobe right now is we have great models and our research teams are, best in the industry building out new models, we're creating the systems to be able to leverage all in market third-party models so that you have access as a creator to the things that you want to be bringing to life. And, we see ourselves as a tool in the creative tool set, right? I think what's really top of mind for me, particularly with Lightroom, photography has always been about capturing a human moment.
True, that's
leveraging editing to bring out that moment and to really draw more of the emotion and draw more of the experience to share it forward. But how do we leverage AI in a way that reduces tedium for our creatives while still maintaining the integrity of that human moment and of that experience, which is, really the essence of a photo. So that's a tension of bringing to the market what the market wants and maintaining the integrity of the creative.
I love that. So you talk about, it's like the human part, right? Versus, you can generate like millions of AI slop, but highlighting
this word, and it's great. AI slop.
AI slop, yeah. Oh, so many YouTube shorts for those, yeah. But then you were talking about, you guys are kind of like emphasizing, you can remove the tedious part, right? but you want to emphasize the human touch of the photography, having the connection. I do think that's a very that's the right way, like in my opinion. It's similar to at Stitch Fix, right? We want to double down on like the stylist, human stylist connection, because AI is the enhancement. You can see yourself, okay, in that dress. What we released Vision recently. What do you look like in that dress? But you want to have like a human creation, because that feels like, oh, somebody's stylist there caring for me. They know all my history. They know like the personalization things about me. So I think that's like a key differentiator.
Yeah.
It's not just an AI image generator that has like no emotions kind of
Sure.
thing.
Yeah, because creativity is inherently human.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how do we enable that?
Yeah. Reminds me of the Oatmeal, like the online blogger. He had a really long comic drawing. Like, I mean, he's not a fan of those like Sora or like the AI stuff. But one thing he does love about AI is that it could remove like the background drawing that takes like 10 plus hours, and then he can focus on the core creativity. So the AI is, as you said, it's a tool. It's like kind of like supplement, but it should not take over your main like entree or your main meal for nutrition. That's the way I think about it.
Yeah, 100%.
So how do you kind of keep yourself up to date with all the AI stuff? And I imagine your team is working really hard on all different experimentation or what can bring into that Lightroom experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, right? Because I've been in the Bay Area 13 years, I have a network of folks who are like yourself that are, all in this space. And so I get a lot of my information from directly industry peers, conferences, newsletters, books. Obviously, being at a company the scale of Adobe during this time is really amazing, because there are hundreds of us who are hands-on learning the tools at the same time. And, we have, groups of folks who are getting together to tinker in all the different ways and then bring that application into the product. But it's constant evolution and transformation and seeking that information. Obviously, places like LinkedIn, different newsletters, podcasts. If you're not listening to Lenny's, you're under a rock. He's bringing out the best information in product. Keep listening. But there are so many. I can do a follow up and maybe give a list for folks who want to follow some great resources.
Yeah, I'll put that in the comments and stuff. Yeah, that's amazing. I have so many episodes I need to catch up on the How I AI with Claire wrote. Like, I think that's the right way to learn, right? You can see a demo, you can see how things are developing. And another thing I heard pretty often is that X is a good platform. Because all the AI founders, all these ordinate, I feel like I'm missing out. Like, I love LinkedIn. I'm very highly engaged on LinkedIn. But a lot of insights are actually from X. And then I was just thinking about this the other day. I think the character limit on X actually force you to put the best out there. You can't be too verbose. You have to be succinct and then really to the point. So I thought, okay, maybe I should go back to the X platform sometime. Yeah.
Yep. I've been through seasons on X. I'm not up there right now. Folks in the comments, tell us if we should be.
Right. I think this is the best time to like, be hands-on, to explore and then see what's out there. Yeah. All right. That's all my questions. Thank you so much, Christina.
Amazing. Thank you.
Bye.